today is all about looking the best and or acting the best, or at least believing that they're the best. Votes rolled in across social media from fans from almost every corner of the franchise, from RID to G1 to Beast Wars and everything in between, as we prepare to count down the top 10 most vain and or arrogant Transformers in the latest GotBot Countdown. Hey all, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, your most humble of hosts, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. As always, please like, comment, share, of course subscribe, and while you're at it, light them up, baby. And hit that notification bell, please. It helps me out a ton, and it lets you know when content of all sorts goes up here on the channel. Check out Machinery of Man, The Everything Factor, Transformers Collectors, NL, The Autobot Family, Transformers vs. G.I. Joe, versus DC Universe vs. Marvel, and all of my social media links. All of those are in the description down below. If you want to help the channel, there's a donate link. You can check us out on Patreon. You can see what we offer to you through Teespring. Or, of course, you can hit the join button right here on YouTube and become a channel member. And this is going to be the countdown, as voted on by you guys, of the top 10 most vain and or arrogant Transformers characters across the entire franchise. And a couple of things, just a couple of little caveats I want to give here. When I came up with this question, I thought, I don't know if there's going to be enough characters. Little did I realize that we would have votes roll in for no less than about 40 or 50 different characters. And a couple of people said, wait, there's a difference between vain and arrogant. And there can certainly be a difference between being vain and arrogant. One can be vain without necessarily being arrogant about it. One can be arrogant without being vain. And a couple of examples were given along the way. However, the two of them often do overlap. And because I was concerned that we wouldn't have enough for just a list of vain, or enough just for a list of arrogant, I said, you know what, let's put them together. I also had a concern that if I separated them, a lot of people would say, wait, you know what, this is kind of the same list, this is kind of the same topic. It was admittedly up for debate, so I opted to put them together. And the votes are very interesting, and I'll kind of explain them as we go through. It's weird, we had votes come in for everyone from Augie, who was a race car driver in G1, to Thunderhoof from RID, to RID 2001 Sideburn. Transformers Prime Megatron was touted as being very arrogant, but not so much vain. One could say that arrogance is a form of vanity. Unicron had a vote. Guy Hawk had a vote. Rat Trap had a vote. Even somebody voted for me, your humble host. Of course, none of us even made the honorable mentions. Who did make the honorable mentions? Well, because of ties in voting, because there's a lot of kind of close races for the positions here, because of ties in voting, we actually have 6 in our honorable mentions this time. All 3 of the first ones I will mention were tied. They had the same number of votes, that being G1 Blur, Pterosaur, and Transformers Animated Bumblebee. All of those were tied in the honorable mentions, and also in the honorable mentions, because of voting ties, we had Galvatron. Specifically, the Age of Extinction Galvatron was noted, but I think it could apply to any Galvatron. Powerglide, because of his pride in being such a great flyboy. And Overlord, because, well, Overlord, enough said. But none of them made the top 10. Came close, but none of them made the top 10. So we're going to kick things off, as per usual, with number 10 first. I'm not even going to pretend that number 10 doesn't kind of strike me as a surprise, because this same character actually appeared in the most underrated characters. So I'm sort of surprised that he would also appear on the vain arrogant. Who am I talking about? None other than Sideswipe? Yeah, Sideswipe. Now, to be fair, well, some people just said Sideswipe in general. A few people actually identified a specific iteration of Sideswipe, which isn't actually this one. The iteration that they actually point to would be the RID 2015 Sideswipe. Now, normally I don't worry so much about being specific to different continuities, like when somebody says something is specifically G1 or specifically the comics or blah 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 blah, whatever. But I do feel like that the 2015 RID Sideswipe was indeed a departure from kind of the traditional view of the guy, and he was at times very much self-assured, overconfident. Sometimes it got him in trouble, and he always kind of saw himself as the best and the fastest. He had a huge competitive spirit, and indeed that could definitely be interpreted as, on one hand, being enthusiastic, but it could also easily be interpreted as being arrogant, and for that reason he takes the number 10 slot. Now number 9 falls more in the realm of arrogance than vanity. Who am I talking about? This guy, Hot Rod. I get it. Hot Rod thinks he's so cool and he's so fast. You know, he broke through Cup's barrier. A lot of people have pointed to his run in the recent IDW comics as a form of him that was pretty arrogant. I'm not going to lie, I know nothing about the character, I know nothing about that iteration, but a lot of people pointed out to it. Again, I'll go back to G1. Even something as simple as, well, your planet wasn't so great anyway. It certainly wasn't Cybertron. Like, really? Did you have to say that? It just showed not only how cold and callous you could be, but kind of how opinionated and arrogant you can be. I totally understand how Hot Rod came in at the number 9 slot. Now, number 8 is definitely an iteration of arrogance and vanity overlapping. In fact, you might even want to throw in the word grandiose when we talk about this character, because it's none other than the leader of the Predacons, Beast Wars Megatron. And yeah, he's definitely very grandiose. The way he speaks, the way he carries himself, his long soliloquies and monologues, his grand plans and schemes. He is so arrogant that it reached a point where he kind of embodied Cybertron. I mean, let's go to like Beast Machines, and you know, his idea that I guess technology and eliminating the organic was perfection. He had almost lost sight of his goal, because he almost saw himself as like a godlike type of character, type of personality that was going to mold an entire planet in his image. His vanity was in seeing himself as a god type. His arrogance was in believing that he could not be defeated and that he had right on his side. For all those reasons, he definitely deserves to be on this list, and he takes the number 8 slot. Is there anyone tougher? Is there anyone braver? In fact, is there anyone who has saved the entire universe? Well, this guy did. It is, of course, Grimlock. And his characterization changes so much. And I found the votes rolling in for Grimlock were a bit strange, but I said, okay, what are some of the justifications? And a lot of people said, like, he's almost too brave for his own good. Some people said, and like they looked back to the episode when he flicked the switch and Toradon, I think was the name of the like Unicron thing the Primacron had created, you know, went back and all the planets got their life and their energy back, and Grimlock was like, you know, I'm so smart, I saved everything. Me, Grimlock, so genius. And you know, he kind of saw himself as superior. He sees strength as the main measure. In the comics, it's been King Grimlock. There's a lot of times that Grimlock has believed himself to be superior over other characters. Certainly believes himself to be the toughest thing going. And you know what? I can't really argue with it, because I can point out a lot of examples myself. Not only from G1, but even from something like RID 2015. A lot of times he really believed that he was the toughest thing going, and that if there was going to be a fight, he was not only going to be in the thick of it, but he was going to win. And for that reason, he takes the number 7 slot. Now, number 6 is one of those, again, generalized characters, and he got votes kind of from different iterations, but there was one that stood out above the rest. The character that I'm talking about is Sentinel Prime. And some people pointed out his comic book iteration. Some people pointed out his Revenge of the Fallen iteration, again, kind of like with Grimlock, Beast Wars Megatron, where he acted thinking, in the movie, thinking that he had kind of right on his side, and that whether it was Autobot or Decepticon, everybody else was beneath him because he had a goal that had to be fulfilled. But the majority of people pointed out animated Sentinel Prime as the most arrogant Sentinel Prime going. And I would totally agree with that. Everybody else could be stepped underfoot as long as he was seen as the best, as long as his aspirations of power were fulfilled. Even looking at his alt mode, yes, he turns into a truck, but it has like this snowplow on it. It is designed specifically to be a truck that will plow through whatever stands in his way. And animated Sentinel Prime definitely looks at his own aspirations and is willing to plow through anyone and anything to get there. His arrogance is probably unparalleled, and for that reason he takes the number 6 slot. And here we are once again at the halfway mark, and at the halfway mark, we're going to delve into the realm of vanity on this list, and perhaps nobody embodies vanity any more than Sideswipe's brother, that being Sunstreaker. A lot of people immediately heard the word vanity and said, yeah, Sunstreaker, there's no one more vain. This guy, like, lives for his looks. And you know what? It's as simple as that, and I can't argue with it anymore. On to number 4. And so we stick with vanity. This guy wants to make sure that his paint job is impeccable and that his rims are on point. Even if he is a Decepticon, he can still look good doing it. Who am I talking about? Knockout. Granted, this is the Beast Hunters version rather than the original version, but I gotta believe that even if he had this body type, he would want every curve, every nuance to be absolutely perfect. Why? Well, because it's Knockout. And whatever you do, you gotta look good doing it. And now we're into the top 3. And number 3 and number 2 were separated by 1 vote. Ironically, one of them is on the realm of vanity. The other is really on the realm of arrogance. Who am I talking about for number 3? Well, it's vanity, with yet again another guy who adores his paint job, that being Trax. Even Trax's voice sounds somewhat vain and arrogant. However, the reason he didn't get more votes and appear higher is because a lot of people said, specifically with Trax, that he will put himself aside, put his vanity aside, put his own needs aside for the good, for the good of the team. And I agree with that. However, you can't deny that he takes great pride in his look, he takes great pride in his alt mode, and he takes great pride in kind of putting his best foot or fender forward, and for that reason he takes the number 3 slot. And number 2 is full of magnificence. In fact, it's Magnificence himself, Commander Modesty, Sky-Lynx. And there was a lot of debate about Sky-Lynx. A lot of people said he's not so much vain, but he's definitely arrogant. And then some people kind of retorted and said, is it arrogant if he can back it up? Because Sky-Lynx talks a big talk and a big game, but he can back it up. My take on it is this: it certainly does count, because you can be very good at something, you can be right about something, but you can still be humble in doing so. Or you can be good and you can be right and you can be very arrogant and pompous about it. And I think that if anybody has an air of pomposity to him, it would definitely be Sky-Lynx. Can he live up to everything he says? Absolutely. But that doesn't change the fact that he's going to have an arrogant attitude about it. After all, if you wonder what to do and what decision to make, ask yourself, what would Sky-Lynx do? And you won't be far off the mark. If that's not arrogance, I don't know what is. And so we come to number 1, and this character took the votes far and above everyone else. There was a race for number 1 early on, but then this character really pulled out in front and didn't look back, which I guess makes sense if you're the arrogant type. Who am I talking about? None other than Starscream. Yeah, the most arrogant Transformer, Starscream. Maybe not the most vain, although there is a certain air of vanity to him, because he believes in his air superiority. He believes in his ability to lead. Vanity usually ties him with looks, however, can certainly tie him with ability, which is where the big overlap comes in with arrogance. After all, this guy gave himself a coronation. He declared himself the leader. If we're going with the Transformers Prime version, he likes for others to refer to him as Lord Starscream. He believes it's almost his spark right, his birthright, to be a leader. Now, the funny part is, as arrogant as all that is, a lot of people have also said that it's a mask to cover up massive insecurities. Maybe. And maybe that's digging a little deeper under the surface than we need to for a countdown like this, because what we see and the character we know definitely comes across as, you know, being self-indulgent, over-bloated, and super arrogant. And for all those reasons, this guy undoubtedly takes the number 1 slot. And there we are once again. We've gone from 10 back to number 1. One more time. We've looked at all 10 of these characters, and you know what? All of them have a place. Whether you want to justify them based on arrogance or vanity, whether you want to justify them based on both. There's a lot of debate that went in here and a lot of votes that rolled in. It was very, very interesting seeing this kind of become a very organic thing. And admittedly, there are characters on the list that I definitely agree with, and other ones that I think I personally would change out. I voted myself for one character. I voted for Blur, and Blur made the honorable mentions but did not make the list itself. He would have made my list, not because he's a bad guy, so to speak, but because he definitely thinks he's the fastest, believes he's the fastest, even if he is the fastest. It kind of goes back to that same thing with Sky-Lynx. You can still be humble about it. And when I look at other characters that got votes, Steeljaw from RID 2015, I think he would have been on my list because he was very self-assured of himself, even when he shouldn't be. RC got a vote. I thought that was strange. I never really saw her as being pompous. Prowl, I could see. Who else got some votes here? Devastator, kind of believed he was undefeatable. And let's throw in Mirage. I could definitely kind of see Mirage having an air of vanity to him as well. Or arrogance, because he did come from a rich family, apparently. I'm not sure how that really works in the Transformers worlds. Nevertheless, there you go. We've done it again. I appreciate you guys coming by and giving me some of your extremely valuable time. I know how important it is to you. If you are in a position to help the channel to grow, don't forget that there's a donate link down in the description. You can check us out on Patreon, where you can see what we offer to you through Teespring. Or, of course, hit the join button right here on YouTube. Nevertheless, hit the subscribe button, stick around, have some fun with us. Don't forget that somehow, some way, each and every single solitary day, man, you do make a difference. And I look forward, baby, to the next time that you and I get together to have another visit, either in the live streams on Thursday nights at the stop motion premieres or the old-fashioned way right here inside the videos.